This is Christopher Bruza, and I'm back with another rifle tour of a Ruger Precision Rifle in 6mm Creedmoor. So, this is a rifle I purchased simply because it was inexpensive and I could keep it around and use it. I ended up, this is the rifle my wife usually shoots. So I figured this would be a budget or inexpensive, not super expensive rifle setup that you could shoot PRS with. I am confident that I could go to a match with this rifle and not score any lower than with my Accuracy International AX with Schmidt and Bender scope. Spending a ton of money doesn't get you more hits. Might make your life a little easier, but might be slightly more reliable, but probably not. You don't gain much by buying much beyond this, other than ego or, you know, something to talk about. But this rifle is accurate, certainly sub 3/4 MOA. The scope is more than sufficient. This is a Vortex PST GenII 5 to 25 by 50. And I've done some modifications to this rifle which are completely unnecessary. No need to them, but I got the rifle really cheap. I bought this brand new as a, I believe it was what they call the GenII Ruger Precision Rifle. It was in 6.5 Creedmoor, and I never shot one cartridge with the stock rifle. Regardless, I paid $1,100 for the rifle, and it is something you could compete with. The scope mount, we'll go through this later, but the scope mount is a Badger Ordnance, $235, and this Viper PST 5 to 25 by 50 has the EBR-2C reticle, which is not the most recent, and I got a very good deal on it because of that. I see no issue with it. I really have no complaints with it. I paid $750 for the scope. So a little over $2,000, and you can have a competition ready rifle plus a bipod. I didn't include the bipod. But that's relatively inexpensive for what you're going to see other people shooting, but I can't see this actually holding anybody back. One thing that'll stand out is this is not a black rifle. The Ruger Precision comes black anodized, black hardcoat anodized for the most part, and I don't know what they do to the barrel. It's probably black oxide, nitrided, something along those lines. This is clearly multicam, and it was painted by Custom Gun Coatings. Brandon does amazing work. He's painted several rifles and shotguns, pistols for me, and he does a great job. When I decided to build this gun out and give it to my wife for Valentine's Day a few years ago, I wanted it to be a bit special, and so I sent it to Brandon to paint it. So it's your general multi-cam paint. It's Cerakote, and the barrel is left in the original stainless. I did that because it's a 6mm Creedmoor barrel. It's not going to last forever. So it's going to be changed out several times during the rifle's life. And you could paint it the first time. I'm not going to send it back to them and have them multi-cam just a barrel. So I figured start in a satin bead blasted type finish, and the rifle will look like this forever. So these rifle tours are generally a part 1 of a series, where part 2 I'm going to go to the range and shoot it, and we'll see what part 3 brings. But in the tours I start down here at the butt like usual. So with these rifle tours I start down the butt, I work my way forward, and the buttstock on this is a point of contention for the Ruger American rifle. A lot of people like to criticize it. Most of the ones you see at competitions, I mean, even 2 years ago, it was very, very, very common to have a squad of, I don't know, 12 people, and 4 or 5 are going to have Ruger Precision rifles. Now you're going to have 4 or 5 with a MPA chassis. Regardless, most of the ones you would see had the buttstock changed. Generally, it was changed to a Magpul PRS buttstock. I have a PRS buttstock that I am not using, and could put it on here, could have put it on here when I built the rifle. I don't see any issues with this. It's a great buttstock. It's more adjustable than the Magpul. So you have adjustable length of pull. This clamp right here, you can slide it in and out. You have a wide adjustment range. You can also angle the butt pad clockwise, counterclockwise. The cheek riser goes up, down, does not go left and right. Being that this is Kydex, I believe this just kind of bent and machined. I was worried about it slipping up and down. It hasn't done that. It's been a great buttstock. I don't understand why people don't like them. This is a standard AR-15 receiver extension, so you can put other stocks on, or you can replace it for an A2 style stock, but I like this one. I can get comfortable behind it. My wife gets comfortable behind it. No real issues. It's good. So the buttstock is folding, and it folds to the side opposite the bolt, which I find very odd. So you have a very wide package when you fold this. I don't know why it folds. Folding that way, it doesn't really gain anybody anything. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's folding. It could just be so you can get the bolt out, because the bolt is in line with the recoil tube, or it's not a recoil tube on this rifle, or what would be an AR-15 recoil tube. And when you actually work the bolt, you'll see this section comes back into here. So moving up, we have the stock Ruger Precision Rifle grip. I didn't see any reason to change this. Go to a Bravo company, or any AR-15 grip would work, but this one felt comfortable. It didn't have finger grooves or anything, and it has the swan neck here, or extension. I'm not sure what that's called. It feels good. No need to change it. Coming up here, you have a safety, and it's not ambidextrous, so you have a safety here. which is a 45-degree throw. It's a general AR-15 style safety, and it's functional. No issues with it. It works. 45 degrees feels a little funny to me, but all my AR-15s have 90 degrees on them. Coming up here, the lower receiver is a single, or it's actually two pieces screwed together of machined aluminum. So there's not much you do with the receiver. However, inside of here, I have a Timney 2-stage trigger. I believe it's 8 ounces plus 8 ounces. And it's a great feeling trigger. I love 2-stage triggers, and this one breaks extremely clean. It breaks clean. I have no complaints with it. I don't know if other people make aftermarket triggers. When I bought this one, that was about the only one for the Ruger Precision Rifle. Coming up on this lower receiver, you see I have a Magpul magazine in here. It's a PMag, holds 20 rounds. And this magazine, the PMag, I had it painted along with the rifle. When it's empty, it stops the bolt from going forward. I don't really like that feature, and I don't see a huge benefit to it in a semi-auto, obviously. But in a bolt gun, if you start to run a bolt closed on a gun that has no ammo in it, you aren't ripping around off the magazine and feeding it into the chamber, you can feel that. You aren't going to just slam that closed and be surprised when the gun doesn't go off. However, the Ruger Precision Rifle can also accept AICS magazines. So it's a 10-round AICS, which has a completely different retaining system. The Magpul has a notch on the side. The AICS has a boss on the back, but Ruger took care of that, and you can use both style magazines. The 5-round AICS do not fit because of the length of this mag well. It's really close, but I can't get it to seat properly. With the AICS, you can run the bolt closed, and I like that. If I ran this in competition and it was a 10-round stage or less, I would run the AICS magazine. I would keep the Magpul simply for like the 10-round stages or the very rare 14, something like that, because this holds 20 rounds. The 10-round Magpul mags also fit. Okay, so coming up from the magazine, you will see this is stock bolt. It's just Cerakoted. However, the shroud on the rear. So for the bolt release, you fold the stock to the side, pull the bolt back, and you have a side bolt release on here, which is the same as the Ruger American style, and you can pull the bolt out. This is the bolt shroud. It does nothing functional, but I replaced it with a Long Rifles Inc. aluminum bolt shroud, just because it was prettier. The original is plastic. It houses the cocking piece of the firing pin. Again, not functional, but I just thought it looked better. And when it's off to be painted, for some reason they didn't paint this, probably because it's laser engraved, and they thought it looked good. So it's a 3-lug, I believe it's a 70-degree bolt throw, but it's 3 lugs. You have I guess it'd probably be a Socko style extractor. Certainly not a Remington style extractor. It's more of a M16 Socko style. and you have a pin ejector on there. I don't really think it has any fluting. It has some recesses here, but I believe that's more functional for the magazine stop and feeding the round than it is to displace dirt or grit, things like that. And then this cutout is for the bolt stop, runs in there. So let's get this. Okay. So again, that's just cosmetic, but I like the looks of it. Moving up, you have the stock Picatinny rail. I don't know if people make aftermarket ones, but this one was sufficient. It's 20 MOA. And with this scope, I do not have a canted scope base. I was worried about if I went 6 mil on the scope base and 20 MOA, I was worried about getting it 0 to 100 yards. Because this is a 30 millimeter scope tube. So it's a 30 millimeter scope base. It's a Badger Ordnance Recon mount. It's the Unimount style with 2 hex screws, and it's a one-piece base. 1.54 inches tall, 30 millimeters. And this right in front of it, because there's no bubble level on the mount, I usually use spur mounts which have a bubble level. So if you've seen my 30-06 video, it's the same level. It has tritium in the back, and it has a sleeve in here to fit a 30 millimeter scope. Which brings us to the scope. This is the only Vortex rifle scope I own, and it's the only Vortex rifle scope I have ever owned. Vortex is extremely popular in PRS shooting, and I've shot a number of them. I've mounted them for people. I've inspected them, looked at them, checked the tracking, and they're decent scopes. I'm not sure the Razor HD is worth the money. Maybe if it were $500 less, it'd probably be a very good buy. But for this rifle, when I actually built it for my wife, I had a Schmidt & Bender PM2 on it, and she doesn't shoot it that much, a few times a year, or she doesn't compete yet. So I felt like I was doing a disservice to that scope, and I wanted to even out the quality of the rifle in the scope and kind of have them make sense. This is typical of what you would see in the field of somebody who builds a RPR. It's very likely they're going to put a PST GenII on it. I bought this with the EBR-2C reticle, and I paid $750 for it. This is an amazing scope for that price. Absolutely amazing. The turrets have got decent graduations. It's got a 0 stop. The windage is the same. The clicks are nice and solid. It's easy to zero. Side parallax goes all the way down to 25 yards. If you want to use it on a rimfire, it would work great. It has illumination on the reticle. Not big on illumination, but it's there. It doesn't add a separate turret. It's built into the parallax turret. Sticks out a little bit. No harm in it being there. The image on the scope is decent. It's not shot glass, but it's it's good. I would put it on par with like an SWFA HD or something along those lines. The size and weight is very reasonable. The reticle's a Christmas tree style. No issues there. I mean, it's not a Horus reticle, but it's functional. The magnification is a bit stiff. Usually when you see somebody shooting one of these, they have a aftermarket lever on the magnification ring. I don't adjust that when I shoot. I'm going to adjust that before I shoot and leave it for the entire stage. I mean, 90% of the day it's going to be on 12 power. So I don't see that as a huge downfall. You've got your fast focus eyepiece. I mean, it's just a solid scope for the money, just like this rifle is. You can do a lot better, but you can do a lot worse for the same amount of money. I did not like the forend that came on this rifle, and it was crooked. The barrel wasn't centered within the forend, and at the time, I don't know if they've reconciled this problem, but I would read other reports online of that. So what I did, I bought a Midwest Industries M-LOK rail for it. Now the scope rail is 20 MOA, and this rail up here is not 20 MOA, so I would not suggest bridging the two. Not that I would suggest that anyway, but they don't match up perfectly. But it's an $1,100 rifle. I'm not gonna sweat it. The rail feels really good in my hands. I could put an ARCA on the bottom if I wanted because it's M-LOK. My wife is not competing, so we haven't felt the need to do that yet. If she wanted to, that would probably be the first mod we made for competing in a PRS type of competition. So it's an okay forend. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it to anybody, but it works well on this rifle. I like the feel of it, and it's painted to match. So because we don't have a ARCA on the bottom, there's just a Picatinny section with your Atlas PRS bipod. Not the fanciest bipod out there, but it's solid. They've treated me well. It doesn't, I have no complaints about them. It does what I need it to. And that brings us to the barrel. And you will probably see this is not the stock barrel. When I bought this rifle, it was in 6.5 Creedmoor. I bought it on a sale through Whitaker Guns. And like I said, it was $1,100. I didn't complain about anything. And this was at a time when these were fairly new and still in demand. 6.5 Creedmoor is a perfectly capable round, but especially being when I decided this would be a good rifle for my wife to shoot, I wanted to go to 6mm. And this was circa late 2016. Actually, I gave it to her for Valentine's Day in 2017. And the Ruger Precision Rifle had not yet come out in 6mm Creedmoor, but I had a lot of brass bullets, so I made this a 6mm Creedmoor. This is a long rifles barrel. It's a pre-fit stainless steel 7.5 inch right hand twist 6mm Creedmoor barrel, and this is the Long Rifles Cathedral muzzle brake. The muzzle brake has a intermediate piece in there, so you can time it properly. You don't have to put the barrel on a lathe and cut the muzzle shoulder to line up the muzzle brake. When I sent this off to be painted, it went to Custom Gun Coatings in Kansas City. And I don't know if Brandon has an FFL now. At the time, he did not. And the FFL he partnered with was Rivers Bend Gun Company in Kansas City, Missouri. And Rivers Bend was started by a guy who used to work at GA Precision in Kansas City. And told Brandon, I was like, yo, while it's there, can you guys reassemble the rifle and headspace it and everything like that? So the barrel was installed by a gunsmith. I could do it myself, but headspaces correctly. It was timed, it arrived, I took it out of the case, and it was ready to go. For $2,000, $2,100, I don't think you could do better than this. Granted, this gun is probably more of a $3,000 rifle because of the trigger, the paint job, the fore end, the barrel, muzzle brake. You don't need that stuff. You can shoot it as it came and do extremely well. There's no justifiable reason to get anything better than this. Here's a nice option if you don't want to put out accuracy or national money. And I appreciate you watching. Thanks. Enjoy.